Hello, everyone. Welcome to the AI Pressure Cooker Live. I'm super excited today to have a special guest, Nadeem Al Rabey, and I'm going to tell you why I wanted him for this edition of the AI Pressure Cooker. So if you allow me to introduce him for this conversation, what is really interesting and impressed me by reading Nadeem's story is that he's one of the few founders that actually was able to raise 1.5 million for his previous startup, and unfortunately lost everything in a single phone call. All the equity was gone. But the real cool thing about Nadeem is that he didn't quit. He didn't decide to find a corporate job. He actually decided to rebuild with now the project called Divido. And he's not only rebuilding, but he's also sharing his lessons learned and his mistakes, his aspirations live right here on LinkedIn. So please follow Nadeem after our conversation. I think you'll learn a lot. And with Divido, what he's doing now is trying to completely democratize the real estate market in Egypt so that everyone can get access to premium property, but at a fractional cost. And more importantly, avoid the nightmare of being a landlord, which is not easy for many of us that have the experience. So welcome, Nadine, and good to have you here.
Karasi, thanks for having me. And yeah, losing everything in a single phone call is a pretty good way to get clarity on what actually matters.
Yeah, I can only relate to that. It hasn't happened to me, but I know it's painful, and I know it takes actually a lot of courage to pick yourself up and go again. And I totally admire your courage in that. But before we talk about hard things and mistakes and pressure, I actually wanted to start with something a bit on the positive side. And despite the hardship with just approaching the launch, which is, as you told me, happening next month, I really wonder what actually excites you at the moment. Where do you find joy and pleasure at this difficult point in the journey of Divido?
Honestly, I'm one of the people that actually loves the building part, where you have to, take all the Lego blocks and put them on top of each other, figuring out compliance and then figuring out your marketing strategy and getting so creative with the marketing team on how is it going to look like, how are we going to launch this, how are we going to go to market, do we have product market fit, building the website, the smallest, tiniest details. It's always what excites me the most, more than even the business itself, where I have to actually sell properties to people and to make their financial freedom faster. It's through doing that. So the building the startup phase in the beginning is my favorite part of the journey.
Interesting, because I could definitely see how excitement and pressure actually sit side by side. And for sure, with your experience so far in the previous attempt to launch something new, I'm totally convinced that you know what's like to experience pressure. But if you allow me to bring you back to that moment, when you so-called heard the whistle, and for our audience, we're going to talk a lot about the whistle and the pressure. I was wondering what this moment actually teach you. Did you actually change the way you thought about making product decisions differently?
Surely. So the whistle, let's say, it hit me when I found out we needed 3 separate licenses from the FRA. And if you don't know what the FRA is, the Financial Regulatory Authority. And that's almost in every country, maybe it has a different name. And the total cost of the licenses was between 15 and 25 million Egyptian pounds. We are a startup. That number would have killed us before we even launched the product.
That's a lot of heat right there, as you mentioned.
Exactly. The solution was getting one of those licenses, which was the core license. And that brought the price tag down to 5 million Egyptian pounds, which is relatively, a fraction of the starting point. And just to let people know what the amount is, just to equate, 15 million to 25 million is around 300 to 500,000 500,000 US dollars, just so you have the number in the back of your head. But that came with a painful trade-off. So picking one single license came with a very painful trade-off. No fully digital experience. Every contract had to be signed physically, which means we needed a delivery operation. And someone physically literally has to take the contract to the investor, get it signed, bring back the original, and we have to physically archive this for every single transaction.
Wow, that's a big cumbersome situation that you find yourself into. I could definitely imagine the complexity of just thinking about these logistics and the pressure it puts on the team. Yeah, so not easy. And I'm wondering, how did you overcome that challenge? Because it's on the surface, it almost looks like a real showstopper for those that have no experience to basically decide that's perhaps not the right idea at all. We've got the recipe wrong. Let's retrieve and do something else. So I'm wondering, what were your thoughts? What did you do?
So first of all, we had to see what are the trade-offs. So we traded speed and convenience versus trust and compliance. Every other platform in Egypt, which there are only a few, maybe two of them are our main competitors in the market out there, but every other platform in Egypt does everything digitally with e-signatures. We couldn't. And when I first heard this, I thought this is going to kill us. People told me that this could be a logistical nightmare. And they were right. It is complicated. But I flipped the lens. So what I actually did is I pivoted the value proposition entirely. Here's the reframe. Nobody knows Divido yet. We are a new company asking people in Egypt who are naturally skeptical, especially about anything digital, to invest in their money in a fractional real estate app. That sounds sketchy to a lot of people, regardless how good the tech is. But when a delivery person shows up at your door and presents a physical contract that looks and feels like a title deed, when you're holding something tangible that you could take to court if something went wrong, that changes the psychology completely. The physical process that I thought was our biggest weakness became our biggest trust signal. Nobody else in the market does this way because they really don't have to. We turned a regulatory constraint into a differentiator. And honestly, that was not enough for me. I thought I need to go even a little bit further with the trust element, since now it's a little bit tougher for people and less convenient. I went shopping for a board member that Egyptian already deeply trusts. So I looked at so many people that are in the fintech and prop tech industry and who could be of value. And I actually found the ex-CEO of Value, which is the biggest buy now, pay later platform in all of Egypt. He left that company to build his own startup called Simple, and it's a Sharia compliant, zero interest buy now, pay later company, and it's really successful. It hasn't been a long since he started that startup, and he's extremely successful with hundreds of thousands of users, maybe even millions, trust and love his platform. So when someone that credible puts his name on your company, it transfers trust before a single investor signs anything.
I see. That's a smart move for sure, because as you say, the trust component was definitely a strong indicator or signal for you to rethink your approach and do something out of necessity that really pushes the innovation in that sense. But if we go back to the current moment, because a lot of our listeners finding themselves into this real difficult predicament with the pressure cooker that I call this specific moment really unique, because with AI, product design teams are definitely turning into a pressure cooker. More power, but less time, and certainly very high expectations. I was wondering, in your own world, when you think about the AI pressure cooker, what comes to mind? What does this trigger for you?
So, you know, mainly for and I'm sure most or a lot of founders would relate, is when you have either people invested or people just depending on you to get this, like your employees. If you don't have any investors in the beginning, it's probably your employees that you want. You want them to have a comfortable life. You want them to stay in the company and be able to have their salaries. So when you think about you're building your product and being so afraid of it failing, or you being unable to market it, or the go-to-market was not good, and it took an extended period of time where you had to even find other ways to pivot and move around to be able to enter the market and start being profitable. I think just thinking about that and being in that loop all the time is one of the toughest pressures any founder could be under. So yeah, that would be it.
Definitely. And does, to some extent, AI change the experience? Because when you were doing your previous startup, for sure,
Obviously,
these forces weren't there. But now we find ourselves in a
obviously.
very
So
different
we're actually
moment.
we're using AI. We're actually experimenting with OpenClaw, which is the latest type of AI agents right there out now. We're actually experimenting on how we could automate the whole property management aspect of the business, because we actually have to depend on a third party, meaning a different partner, to do that part for us, where you have to search for a tenant, you have to rent out the apartment, you have to maintain it, you have to collect the checks or the cash. And then when the tenant has any issues, you have to attend calls, maybe at 2 a.m., something wrong, the pipe blew up or something, right? So we're experimenting with AI to actually have agents do every single part of that. And the human element is only that you're checking that the AI actually achieved what a normal human would achieve. So it goes down from having maybe 20 to 50 employees doing property management down to like 4 people managing 20 to 50 AI agents doing the work on your behalf while you sleep. So
that's
that's it.
very interesting outcome, in a sense that it allows you to do so much more. But at the same time, what I personally often try to think about, what does it happen actually with this type of scale and speed and the rush to go as fast as possible. And my simple analogy is, if I still stay on the pressure cooker metaphor, is to actually think about that the market doesn't necessarily care of our speed and how fast we cook, but it only rewards second bites. And I wonder, do you also relate to that? Do you see it in day to day as a
Yeah,
challenge?
yeah, absolutely. So, you know, market doesn't really care about how fast you scale, as long as you show a track record that you are doing the right things. So the the first thing that anybody would encounter if they have a product that they want to launch to consumers, right? If they buy it once, or if they invest once, or if they subscribed once, how long are they going to stay subscribed? And are they going to buy again from you? Are they going to trust you with another investment? And that all falls onto how the value was proposed to them,
Mhm.
how much of a benefit they actually received from using your product. And it really doesn't matter how fast you do that. The faster you do that obviously means you're scaling faster, and that's by utilizing AI. But people don't really care if you're utilizing AI or not. Like really, our part of the thing that I just told you about property management AI agents, people are not going to really know about them unless they really want to dig into how we do things. Like we're going to talk about it obviously on LinkedIn and on our socials, but the app user is not going to really see it. It's almost like it's an invisible thing that's happening. They actually might think it's a human being on the other side of the phone that's doing all of this for them. But yeah, that's how I think
And it's also one of
it
the
is.
challenges talking about the impact on user experience and on design when you have to integrate this intelligence, how you do it in a way that actually resonates and doesn't necessarily pushes the user in a not wanted behavior or misleads them in a certain direction that's beneficial to business. It's kind
Yeah,
of touches a little bit upon the ethical aspect and the transparency, which at this point in time is, I think, super important, and we see it everywhere. I was actually going to ask you back to this idea under pressure, because what I see in my work with different teams is that there are two kind of teams based on how they behave under pressure. One mostly freezes, and the other one goes in the exact extreme where they actually begin to ship as much as possible, hoping that something is going to stick. But also being in this pre-launch phase, I know that for you, not all bets make sense and they are necessary. And certainly you don't have the resources to do everything. So you
yeah.
have to decide. And I'm wondering, how do you make this the biggest bet? What does it look like for Divido at this point in time? And also, what did you have to say no to in order to get there?
Absolutely. So in my opinion, you have to know how your business cycle works, and then you need to create growth loops. And the biggest bets that we took as a company is that, okay, we have restraints in a lot of areas. We need to focus on shipping value, making the app as simple as it possibly could be. So user journey goes to flow as literally seamlessly and in a super simple, easy ways. Just with a few taps, you actually get into premium real estate with a very low barrier to entry, which is 25,000 Egyptian pounds, which equates to like $500 per share. So all of these were small bets that we have to bet on and actually forget everything else. Like we did get a lot of potential investors that wanted us to, let's say, focus on a different aspect. For example, we had some investors that told us, okay, just focus on high net worth individuals. They have all the money in the country. They're the top 1%. If you just serve those, if you have just a few clients, you'll make a lot of money, right? But my vision and my goal was to actually, it's because of the I saw the Egyptian currency and how it decays. So not only inflation is very, very high over there, but the actual value of the currency, meaning the value of it against, for example, the US dollar, was very volatile. And people who kept their money in the bank or even kept cash with them lost a lot of value in the past like 5 to 10 years, maybe even like 50% of the purchasing power. So my vision and my why was mainly to help these people that cannot invest into assets like real estate, because real estate has a price tag of minimum that you have to have at least 5 million Egyptian pounds, and not everybody has that in Egypt. The salaries are like varies between 10 to 50k, depends on your position. So if you're making 10 to 50k, it's very hard if you lost 50% of all your value in the past 5 to 10 years to still invest in an asset like real estate. So it is breaking the barriers to such an asset class, which also, when you do invest in something like that, it actually saves your money because it appreciates in value. And even if inflation hits and goes higher and higher, the real estate as well goes higher and higher. Even the percentage of the real estate going higher in appreciation is higher than the inflation. So it's kind of saving the people from decaying currency, and also making their dream of achieving financial future a little bit easier and a little bit more realistic.
That's super powerful. And when I was just listening to you, how you talk about the vision, what I was thinking about is also the impact that this vision has equally on the team itself. Because being a product team, shipping under so much heat and pressure, the expectations and the stress is enormous. First of all, not to miss this whistle moment, which kind of indicates a significant change on the market that you have to take into account, but also to really stay focused on what you have to accomplish and not get distracted with all of those possibilities, shipping random features, hoping for the best, and taking away this aspect of trust that you spoke about. So I wonder, how do you keep the team really staying true to this mission when everything is possible, and with the click of a button and these agents, we can unleash so much out there?
So honestly, a lot of the people that work with me closely in the company, they're always scared of, because I'm the guy that always want to enable tech and try the newest technology out there, what AI is unleashing on us. So a lot of them were like, are we gonna soon be replaced by AI, and you're just gonna be a solopreneur, or like have 2-3 employees with you to hold the whole company? And honestly, I'm not against AI, but I'm against the part where everyone is saying, okay, it's going to replace jobs. Yes, it is. It is going to, absolutely. But it's going to replace the jobs of the people that actually do not want to learn how to use AI and how to utilize AI in their fields. So I am really with the idea is, you have a core team, you have people that work with you, let them all be able to utilize the power of AI and AI agents and any other technology that comes in the future. So the potential of these people is now multiplied by 10x or 50x or 100x, because now they can utilize the power of AI to scale us much faster. So I always do ground them and assure them that, hey, you guys are safe. I'm going to use you guys to utilize AI, so you can use AI to grow into positions and have higher leverage than, a single person by himself could make an outcome. With AI, could make 10 different outcomes.
That's super inspiring, and what actually this reminds me of this idea that we have to take learning not necessarily as a capability at this time and age with AI, but actually to think about learning as a product, in order to make sure that we are learning faster than we are building. And
Exactly.
what I actually wanted to ask you, how do you do that? How can you learn faster than you build? Because right now we can build with enormous speed, but the learning component, it's still, I think, questionable. Do
I
you have
think,
any preferred methods that inspire the team to keep on learning?
yeah. So the best way is throwing them under the water. So I went to the heads of every department back in 2025, like beginning of 2025, and I was like, listen, AI is everywhere. I know Egypt might be a little bit behind than other countries, but I want you to go online, learn by doing. So use the thing, experiment with it, see how you can use it in your function, and how you can, even make a water down fall effect to the employees that are underneath you. How can you teach them with AI? Because AI is fast, absolutely, and AI building products is also fast, absolutely, but you can still use that speed of AI to learn with it. So learning from execution is one of the best ways to learn. So not just see what's the latest AI tools that I can use in my business. No, once you've seen what's the latest AI tools that you can use in your business, try them. and make your team try them as well, and let them get comfortable with it. Let them know how to utilize it in the best way you can, but because only by experimenting you're going to learn. And by experimenting something that is already going super fast, like AI, you will also learn super fast, because it will put you on the same pace of how fast it could build is how fast you're going to learn how to use it to build. How fast it could market is how fast you're going to use it to learn how to market more. So it comes all to executing with the best technology out there, which is now AI and AI agents and so
No,
on.
absolutely. And I think what you're saying is to some extent really very strongly linked to what I believe is product success, because only by learning, as you say, faster than we can build, we can start to create these new types of product loops, not just where we preserve and compound the value within the product itself, but we put on top the learning component that gives us this agility and freedom to actually experiment and find really the nice product market fit out there that is necessary, and for sure improve the decision making, the value capture, and making sure that we also build the right behaviors. On this point, can you briefly describe about how are you thinking about the loop that you want to build at Divido?
Absolutely.
Not to
So
reveal your secret sauce, but something that we can all
it's
learn.
it's more of common sense if you think about it. But the loop would be is that invest in a fraction of premium real estate. The property gets fully funded within a few days or weeks. It gets rented immediately after it's fully funded. And from the very next month, the user starts receiving a monthly rental yield directly in the app. Then every quarter, there's a professional third-party valuation company that's showing the capital appreciation of every property. When the appreciation crosses 80% of the purchase value, all investors in that specific property vote on whether to sell or hold. If they sell, they collect their capital gains and the loop restarts. They reinvest in the next property. So in one sentence, it's invest, earn monthly, watch it grow, vote, exit or reinvest.
Wow, it sounds easy, and I know it's definitely not. And you also have to some extent, because as you were saying, in Egypt, a lot of new things are happening with Divido and how you approach not only the real estate but also the digital component. And you, in a way, you have to really cater towards the new user behaviors that you want your target users to build and adopt. And I'm wondering, have you discussed internally what those behaviors that you want from your users are, and how big is the change from where your users are right now and where you want them to be, let's say, in a year after Divido is launched?
Yeah, absolutely. So we we're targeting different audiences. So mainly it's going to be Gen Z that are first time investors into real estate, and the behavior and the actually the mindset that we want them to have, that this is long term investing, because real estate is not a quick flip or get rich quick overnight. This is an asset class that is supposed to stay with you 10 years onwards, right? It's supposed to stay in your portfolio 10 years onwards. But we're changing it to make it a little bit faster, so they feel like the appreciation and the capital and the value they're receiving is a little bit faster. But still, it's not as fast as, like, for example, cryptocurrency gains or something. It's like you're going to have monthly yield, right? And then 1 to 3 years down the line, you'll get to vote whether you want to hold or sell. So we want people to absolutely be okay with holding such an investment for 1 to 3 years without having the burden of, oh, I need to sell it. Oh, the market might collapse or might fall apart and I need to, we do our intense research and we use AI technology to actually, break down what type of real estate should we put on our platform. We go for premium, high yield, mostly high capital appreciation potential, so they don't have to worry too much when they're holding these investments. So the behaviors would be, calm, not impulsive, not like other apps where they want you to be impulsive because that's how they make money. But yeah, that's mainly it.
That's super important. I actually read somewhere that there is a fundamental difference between different generations and their attitude towards money and investment. So for Gen X's, it was all about, is money everything? So they had this big question about purpose and meaning and etc. Millennials, on the other hand, they're like, show me the money, because for them it was really difficult, actually, given the economic circumstances and the pressure to make money and put any investment in this long-term thinking with property and etc. But the interesting thing that really struck me was when I was reading about Gen Z, which are even questioning what is money. So in that context, it would be a very interesting journey ahead of Divido to try to educate them how to think about money and really what is money.
Absolutely. Cannot agree more.
Yeah, and in going back to this loop discussion, I'm wondering, how would you actually know that the loop is real? Because a lot of product teams get fixated on building these loops, but the validation, are you already thinking about certain KPIs and metrics so that you know that what you've built is a loop?
Yeah, for sure. So of course, we're going to look at retention. So whoever invests once, when the cycle ends, or even mid-cycle, which is somewhere between 1 year to 3 years, and we even slash the 1 year to the first 6 months. So what we're going to be observing is that when somebody does start investing with Divido and they start seeing the rental yield coming every single month consistently from their properties, how encouraged are they? And of course, we're going to be, trying to encourage them to invest more. Is how encouraged are they to reinvest their profits, let's say, because a lot of people are going to make profits at that time. They could reinvest in the profits and profit, and then that compounds, right? So their portfolio grows because they're reinvesting their profits directly, and that grows. So retention is something that is big that we're going to watch. And then once we see that that's actually moving in the right direction and the loop is working, we're going to introduce subscription-based investing, which is it's unique in the investing world, but it's very, let's say, familiar in, let's say, the consumer apps that they use, like Netflix or any entertainment business and stuff like that. They're used to paying like $15, $25 every single month without even thinking about it. It goes directly to the company, right? So when it comes to their investments, it's going to be tricky to convince somebody that subscribing into investing is actually one of the smartest things to do, because the money comes out of your bank account every time you get your salary or your bonus or whatever you might be doing. It goes directly into an investment, which grows, which brings you monthly yield. So that would be the next part. If the loop is, let's say, successful and is going on track, it would be the next thing to add subscription model to it. So you just automate investing.
It almost reminds me of replacing or substituting the idea of having a pension or some
Exactly.
security envelope for when you retire. And I know for many people this is really far, far away. But at the same time, if you don't start thinking about it now, you'll never get there. So it's not only that they're investing and generating profits and returns, but also they're building something for the longer term. And in that
Exactly.
perspective, I was thinking about it. How does it influence your decision as a founder, knowing that Divido, if you are really successful, has to be for these people for the next 10, 20 years. So you are not a startup that should disappear in the 3-year cycle or the 5-year cycle. But here the cycle is really extended. Does it put
That's
any
correct.
additional pressure on you, thinking that you will be behind Divido for the next 20 years or so?
Well, honestly, it's every founder's dream to know that I want to take this company and be successful with it for the next 10, 15, 20 years. It's actually more to me specifically or personally, it could be different with other founders, but to me specifically, I I'm not afraid of it or like pressured. In fact, I'm more excited to see it come to fruition. So I'm already imagining hitting 100 million US dollars as valuation and then $1 billion as valuation, and then comparing that to how many people did we actually help become financially free. Like that's one of the metrics that I really am going to measure because it matters to me personally a lot, is that how many people went through, let's say, the Divido cycle or the Divido program, and since they entered until they are now, and we are successful in 10 years, how many people became financially free because of investing with us for 10 years? So this kind of is like one of my inner motivational type of metric that I'm gonna really watch and have a close eye on.
Wow, I'd like to talk to you in 5 or 10 years' time to figure out what happened and how the story unfolds. So we have to
Sure.
stay
We
committed
will for
to
sure.
the journey. And yeah, that's really powerful what you say. But I also think that being a founder or a product manager with a lot of responsibility, sometimes you actually are afraid of hearing the whistle of the pressure cooker, and this puts also a lot of pressure having to admit that maybe the recipe is wrong, maybe the direction that you've taken is not the right one. So
Yeah.
how do you ensure that you actually are open to this whistle?
So it's gonna be, well, if you're asking like what are we assuming that if it goes wrong, then all of this is irrelevant, what we're trying to do.
Kind of, I was afraid to put it in these words, but
Well,
yes.
well, the one or two assumptions that would keep me up at night, you know, is, and I honestly want to be completely honest about this because a lot of people might not want to speak about this because it just shows that this person may be scared. The first is that Egyptian investors are the first assumption that I have is that Egyptian investors are ready to trust a new platform with their money before we have proven returns at scale. Everything we've built, the physical contracts, the board members, the regulatory licenses, the quarterly valuations, is essentially our answer to one question. Will people trust us enough to invest before having a track record? And we have done everything right structurally, but the market will tell us if it was enough in April when we launch. And the second one is also harder to say out loud. I might be wrong about my team. I believe deeply in the people I've built Divido with. I believe our board members add real credibility. I believe we have the right combination of skills and relationship to pull this off. But that's an assumption too. Every founder thinks their team is great. Not every team actually is. And if the execution gap shows up at the wrong moment during the launch, during the first investor cycle, during the first property funding round, no amount of regulatory groundwork or board credibility will save you. The team either delivers or doesn't.
Yes, and I'm truly appreciative that you spoke the truth, because indeed this is on top of many and a big worry that keeps us all up at night, but not a lot of people are willing to admit and show that this is a real pressure that you have to live up every single day, and not just hope for the best, but ensure that you do what's in your power to cultivate this culture, the right culture in the startup and the company that you're building, having this strong long-term mission of what the purpose is and what you want to bring to society. And especially at this period in time with so much pressure economically, I think that this mission is super powerful and super big. And I wanted also to ask you towards the end of our chat, 6 months from now, don't worry about the numbers, what they look like, and the subscribers you're going to win or not. I was wondering, what would actually make you proud? Is there one thing that would give you joy and be fulfilling, regardless of the outcome?
Well, that's a hard one. What would make me proud in 6 months? It would be that the company is self-sustaining and I can pay salaries on time, and I'm sure that I take care of my people that built this project with me. And also, I would say just having that proof of concept, because a lot of people doubted me. A lot of people advised me to not go for a second startup because first one was a disaster. And I'm sharing this, like, on LinkedIn as a story on how that happened. But just to show that I can do this, and the team that is with me that is building this can do this, and I can take care of them and take care of myself, that would make me really proud.
Wow. I sincerely wish you all the luck and all the grit, because it takes a special kind of person to actually put themselves forward, knowing what is at stake, knowing all these pressures, uncertainties, and still keep going one step at a time, and hopefully taking the right next move so that you get clarity as you go, and you pursue your direction, which is so clearly outlined. Doesn't happen often, for somebody to have such a resolute of what they want to achieve. I don't know if there are questions in the chat, so I'm just going to take a look to see if we have something to answer. But
sure.
In the meantime, I am, all I can say is just wow. And I really wish you all the best of luck. And I will keep you on that promise to talk for the next 5 or 10 years to see what happens if we are both healthy and around.
That would be
keep pushing, and best of luck with Divido.
Thank you so much, Carrie.
Thank you
so much.
And thanks for our listeners. Have a good rest of the day.
Bye. Have a wonderful day. Bye, everybody.